you pretty much can process it right away. That's how integration with the QuickBooks works. Now, back to you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. Excellent demo. All right, so now we've shown you the physical demo of SimpleCapture working with QuickBooks, and we'll kind of talk about the benefits and bring this home and hopefully answer all of your questions. So obviously the benefits of automation with SimpleCapture, you can immediately process any invoice or unstructured document from any customer. There is virtually no document definition that has to be done. You create a simple profile. It takes just a few moments, and you can immediately start processing documents. As Gary pointed out, with AutoFind, you can learn all of your documents, especially documents like invoices, where you have fixed information, things like vendor name, vendor phone number, vendor address, vendor invoice number, vendor invoice date, that type of information, regardless of what vendor it's coming from, it typically is in the same position on an invoice from one particular vendor. And with AutoFind, it learns each vendor individually. So as you see a new vendor, you simply click on those fields. It remembers them. The next time you see an invoice from that vendor, as he pointed out, you hit F3, and it'll extract all of the fields that it can locate, dramatically improving data entry time. It reduces overall data entry costs by 50 to 80% or even more. Again, as we showed you with things like database lookups and AutoFind, in some cases you can be reducing data entry by 90%. Okay, so that equates to an incredible cost savings. As I mentioned, full training for an operator to get them up and started using this product typically takes less than an hour. Okay, in most cases it's probably about 30 minutes, and they're able to click on the data, capture the data, extract the data, and be off and running at full speed. We provide a full range of licensing options to fit your requirements and your budget. We have, very low cost, low end volume type licensing all the way up to address the highest volume requirements. And as you probably know, manual data entry has somewhere around a 5% error rate. Okay, that means there's typically an error, 5 errors per every 100 keystrokes. And with AutoFind, the ability to do database lookups, the ability to validate against an accounting or ERP system, the fact that you're capturing the fields from the OCR text typically means you have less than 1% errors. That means an 80% reduction in the average error rate. So it can dramatically reduce errors in your data entry operation. Now, ROI is what it's all about. How quickly does the solution pay for itself? And what we typically see is at least a 50% reduction in effort. So you can look at this one of two ways. If you're in a cost-cutting mode, you can typically reduce your labor by 50%. If you're in a growth mode, you can double your volume with the same amount of staff. So either way, the calculation is basically the same. In this case, if today it takes 4 full-time AP clerks to process your invoices, with SimpleCapture, we would estimate only 2 would be required. If you look around the country, an average AP clerk in a metropolitan area is probably making about $40,000 a year fully burdened. That means salary plus benefits, okay? And if you can reduce 2 AP clerks, you're saving $80,000 a year. The cost of the 2 seats of SimpleCapture means that you would pay for it in about 4 months. I think the actual number is 3.8 months in this example, so about 4 months. Anything less than 12 months is typically automatically justified. Anything under 6 months, and you really would be crazy not to move forward with this type of technology. Obviously, in more rural areas, the ROI would probably be a little bit longer because the base wages would be less, but we've had data entry staff as low as 12 or 13 or 14 dollars an hour, and the solution is still justified in about 12 months. So you know, obviously it is cost effective in virtually any environment, and as you get into the more metropolitan areas, the ROI becomes even more compelling. If your volume dictates and the complexity dictates, then you have the ability to look at Artsyl's server-based technology called Doc Alpha. It allows you to combine the best qualities of a fully automated system with the outstanding flexibility of the SimpleCapture interface. Doc Alpha is a client-server application where all the processing is done on stations typically that run on the server, and the only user interface would be the scanning interface or the verification interface, which is essentially the same interface as Gary showed you with SimpleCapture. This would automatically process your invoices such that once your definition is created, you could scan 100 invoices and you would only have to touch invoices with uncertain characters or business rule violations. That means that out of 100 invoices, you might have 50% of them, maybe 80% of them process automatically. As long as there are no uncertain characters or no business rule violations, those invoices could theoretically process through the system fully automated with no human intervention. Obviously, that depends on the rules, and as I said, the confidence levels you set up and the business rules you set up, so that all impacts the probability of the document processing without any human intervention. But it allows you to capture information from one-time customers or low-volume customers using the auto-find capability within that SimpleCapture interface. Again, something that Gary showed you in SimpleCapture also applies to Doc Alpha, and that means that you can learn vendors without having to programmatically set them up. So it uses or leverages a lot of the same concepts, the same technology in SimpleCapture, those technologies that capability is leveraged in the Doc Alpha product.